Welcome to The Doctors Are In. We are in the house right now. Just want to thank all of you for being faithful followers. Like what we saying, just give us a like, give us a view, share it. Our goal is to turn over every stone that we see and tell the truth, both academically, both spiritually, both biblically, and any other way that we can, with the intent not just to inform, but the hope to transform. We have been dealing with, the last month, we really took on the Roman Empire and its influence on the blackness that we have seen, or the black experience, as it were, and it's how it's carried on into our current world and its influence. We have proposed to really look again and more astutely this time at the divine feminine and the impact that perceptions about the African woman, women of African descent, and just women in general, these ceilings, as it were, these perceptions, as it were, how has that affected us? Are we liberated by that? Or are we in the Arc Ages? Maybe the Dark Ages is still looming and got us hoodwinked. But the whole truth is that we want to bring some things out to create dialogue and discussion. And this month we've devoted that to talk about the woman, to talk about the divine feminine, and we want to talk about its impact on the Black female. Now, the things we share here is to educate you. We're not telling you what to think, but we're putting things out there so you can think for yourself, draw your own conclusion, but we're going to do the best we can to speak the truth that we know. Now that we got now we come to our panel. Normally I go to our patriarch, but since we're going to be talking about women, I'm gonna go to you first. Huh?
You done did a switcheroo.
Yeah, I'm going to you first. Then we'll come back to our beloved patriarch, Dr. Brown, and then we'll go from there. But why don't you greet the audience and kind of tell us, what's on your heart? Even give us a plug about what you're about to do this week. Anyway, anything you want to do, just let your audience know what's on your heart.
All right. Hi, everybody. When I was trying that, there we go. Why just see it be showing up on my thing late, and I'm trying to share it on my page. Facebook be doing stuff. But just want to say hello to everybody. Page cannot be displayed. Okay. Hello to everybody. Welcome to The Doctors Are In. We thank you for your support. Please like, tag, and share. We are sharing too much heavy truth, too much research, too much experience, too much revelation for it just not to go viral. So please like, tag, and share. I'm excited about what we're going to be doing this month and maybe even next month. I'm not sure. As we have been talking about in our tenure, Doctors Are In, we have looked at the historical Jesus versus the Jesus of faith. We have looked at how our people have been hoodwinked. We have looked at the religion of the slave masters and how it's still the same religion. We have looked at most recently the Greco-Roman influence on the treatment of our people, on Christianity, and the way we have been taught, culturized, and trained, so that Greco-Roman influence is still reigning supreme, and we didn't even know it. And so I'm very excited about that. And so in the same spirit of that, this month, we're going to begin to look at some of the injustices done against women. The same kind of systems that are in place that support racism is the same exact system that supports sexism. The same drive for power and superiority, supremacy, and economics that drives racism also drives sexism. So this month, we're going to be looking at some scholarly material, as we always try to present to you. I mean, we are doctors, you know, so we try to present to you some scholarly material. So you see, we're not just talking out the side of our necks, or we're not just preaching heresy, as it were. Even such a thing like that, even idea comes from Rome, where we are controlling people who don't say and think what we tell them to say and think. So we're going to begin to examine some scholarly things this month. We're going to do some exegetical work. We're going to examine how the scriptures have been used to subjugate women in the same way they've been used to subjugate people of color. It's going, as Dr. Gardner says, it's going to rattle some cages. It's going to challenge some belief systems. It may even challenge your Christianity. But we want to know the truth so that we may be empowered to walk in liberation and freedom. So I'm excited about our topic on this month. Oh yeah, and him on the West Coast, but him in 2 days gonna be on the East Coast as he joins Kingdom Life Apostolic Movement, and he's one of our pop-up faculty for our Kingdom Concept School of Ministry, as we will be gathering at the Roslyn Retreat Center to pull back and pull away from the hustle and bustle and even the institution of church, just to spend time with God and find out what in the world is going on, and to find out what we need to be doing, and to get that time of correcting and reposturing, refreshing and renewal. And so Dr. Apostle Gardner is going to be with us. We are very excited for what's about to happen in our region, September 9th, 10th, and 11th.
All right.
Come on down, Brown.
Bring it on down, Brown. Help us out.
Oh, I appreciate the way that Dr. Hyndman presented you, the apostle, the one who has been sent, and I'm kind of having joy in the way she articulates where we're going for not just a month. This is going to take 2 or 3 months. I don't know personally. As Dr. Gardner always says, the patriarch. Well, whatever arc you want to say, all of us come from that woman, that feminine. Nobody has come through and into this on this planet. Our existence come from the divine existence, which is in life a female, a woman.
Okay. A wombed man. A wombed man. You know,
Well, whatever way, the linguistics never ceases to amaze me.
a
So
wombed man.
consequently, I feel more comfortable in dealing with the feminine energy of the divine, because the feminine energy of the divine manifests woman to bring our existence into life through that. It's so dynamic, made me get hoarse.
All right.
Cause you busting up
Yeah,
hundreds and thousands of years of stuff already.
I guess
This
the
is
question.
an old demon.
And he'll hit us back as soon as his thing comes unfroze. But anyway, I guess the question that the statement that he made is so very true that we don't really pay attention to. that there is no humans that I know of came into this world, not even the Christ came into this world without the womb of a woman.
Now, how about this? Since the legend has it, or the historical context that was borrowed from more ancient context, the thing was conceived by the Holy Ghost. That's great. But even the Holy Ghost couldn't do nothing without a womb.
Without the woman. You know, it's like
without that womb.
It's up, you know, nothing. I mean, there is, and when you, it's not just, the thing about it is, it's not just in the human species.
Yes, sir. Come on.
You know, it's in the animal kingdom, you know, that, I mean, everything that's living, that creeps on this earth, as it were, came through a feminine.
That's right.
You know, I never seen a lion produce another lion without the lioness. So there's a cycle here. So the question, I guess the question that I'm really posing, why is the female so despised? You know, I mean, you know, she almost fits the Isaiah 53 narrative about the Christ. Despised, rejected of men, woman of sorrows.
That's it. Sorrow, even birthing is considered sorrow.
Acquainted with grief.
Yes, Lord.
I mean, you know, we know that narrative is talking about, you know, the Messiah, but you can see the woman and her experience mirroring what that the text says. So the question that I'm asking, why is the female always seem to be despised and always given second rate and always wanted to be told to be quiet and to stay in their place, yet nothing on this planet came about without her help and without her energy.
And without her body, her womb.
Boom.
Whether it's dogs, cats, mice, rats, roaches, doesn't matter. Nothing can come into this material world unless it comes through the feminine. Even we say the earth, we call the earth Mother Earth, Father God, Mother Earth, because they come together to produce humanity. So, and the earth has a womb. How do we know that? Because if you put seed in it, if you scoop it out and put seed in it, seed and soil, water and atmosphere, life comes about through womb. Everything that come here, there ain't a movement in the earth that God's gonna do without the womb of a woman or the spiritual womb. You know, so I think just like we have been conditioned, doctors, to be Black and on the bottom, Black and inferior, Black and struggling, Black and whatever they say Black is, creating a narrative for us that we have swiftly obeyed. It's the same thing with the woman, and you only suppress that which you feel. Now I'm going to put that right there.
You only suppress that which you fear. You know, that's one of our Dr. Brown's beloved statements.
Yeah, you fear to love, and you love to fear.
Right. And, you know, why? you know, I mean, why? Why is there such a fear of the feminine? Well, I'll tell you, in my brief assessment here, fear of the feminine obviously is because we fear that which we don't understand. But when we really look at it, who's the one doing all the fearing?
Come on.
I don't see women fearing women. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
I don't see children fearing women. The fear, the basis of, okay, I got it. The fear, the basis of the fear that has been historically in the earth for eons. And I mean, thousands of, well, I can say from what we have understood about history, and as much as we know about history, and as much of this history that has been depicted biblically, that has been depicted based upon the best minds that know something historically, the only species that has feared the feminine has been the male species. So why, what, and so if God, let's go back to the garden, okay? Can we go to the garden for a minute? Now, I'm talking to you out there. We're quoting from the Hebrew Bible, and whether you believe this account that we're going to kind of paraphrase, whether you believe it's a myth, or whether you believe it's allegory, or whether you believe it's real, the fact of the matter was that something happened in the garden that God himself said, it ain't good that man should be alone. And we know the story that God put man to sleep and he pulled out of man woman. You know, Adam, which means clay, red man or man of the earth. I mean, his name kind of depicted his gender or his hue, as it were. He was a dark person and brought forth a woman. Now, when they messed up, Dr. Hyman, the first thing that he directed his problem as to what had messed him up, he said, this woman won't wound man that you gave me. So we see that there was the problem of sexism and the problem of the depreciation of the divine gift we find in the female human.
Mm-hmm.
It is implied there. This woman you gave me, that's why I ate. And so that's one problem. But if we want to blame somebody, we want to blame Adam. But Adam was the author of sexism. Huh? I mean, I'm just calling it came out of this woman you gave me. He was talking to the divine and he despised the gift that God gave. And this despisement has become part of the male paradigm and how we see women in the eyes of despisement. And what reinfluences that I think that when we find the white male picked up on this and used scripture,
Yes.
is that they looked at the curse and how the curse was given one thing to the devil and given another thing to the man and said that the womb man shall what? Be subject to you. And thereby you create a whole theology of placement. You create a theology that places the woman in a subjugated role. When God's intent from the beginning was that there be help mates to bring about God's universal design. So to despise the woman is to despise the divine feminine, and therefore thwart, limit, and undermine and sabotage God's plan that he had for the two. Anyway, I'm done.
That's a heavy statement, but I'm prepared to support it. I'm prepared to support. That's heavy. Because basically what we're saying, and this is true, not just in male, female, but anything that we reject that God is in.
Oh, no.
It is a rejection of God, God's self.
God.
It's a rejection. And so we have not thought of that as that.
Have not thought of that.
We have not thought of that in that manner. But I want us to look at that if we can.
Can.
Somebody got an echo. Where's that echo coming from?
Let me see. Let me make sure I don't have a Facebook open somewhere.
All right.
Okay. You know, let's just do a little historical exegetical work for a moment
Okay.
here.
All right.
Because we act as though God himself took his finger and wrote Genesis, when we know that the construction of Genesis is at least 2 or 3 different sources.
Okay.
From different times. In fact, there are 2 creation stories in Genesis. The priestly authors of Genesis 1, writing about 5 to 400 BCE, were not even concerned with the origins of matter or material necessarily. They scholars trying to understand humanity, you know, and trying to understand how things were, you know. So they're not just writing to say where stuff came from, because we really don't know. So we say got to have an origin. That origin is gone. But also when we think about some of these tensions in the text, I heard you mention the word helpmate. That's been another word, Apostle, that has been used to augment the fact that the woman was made for the man.
Okay.
She was made for the man's pleasure.
Well,
she was made for the man's purpose and assignment. She was made for the man's authority, and she was made for the man's anatomy. All right.
Okay.
So we use that helpmate, and helpmate became help meet. Help meet my sexual need, help meet the bills, help meet the parenting needs, help meet the children's needs, help meet the business needs, help meet the church needs, and all kinds of stuff that we do to women, especially preaching men who do all of this stuff to women for their image. Many men who are out front marry for image. They marry for success and image and what this is going to make them look like and how this is going to enhance the church. We make women co-pastors when God ain't even called them to preach. You know, or we'll make them first ladies when they got apostolic authority and the man ain't even got none. So all of this, the church is the same exact system as the country. And the country is the same exact system as it is in other places. And so even when we see this misuse and abuse of the transliterators who put help me there, when the word is the same word that is used of God in the Hebrew that says, one of the scriptures says the name of a place, hitherto hath the Lord helped us, Ezer. So that word Ezer, or the derivatives of it, is the same word that is attributed to God as a helper. So now if David says the Lord has been my helper, and it's the same exact word as in Genesis for that's been mistranslated as helpmate or help meet or whatever you want to call it, piece of meat, whatever you want to call it, then it can't be something that is inferior, because it's the same word or terminology that is used for God being our helper. Now let's do some logistics. All right. If we want to play games with the text, which we have done because we've been bamboozled. Now, if the woman is our helper, then who is the one in power? Is the helper the one that's weak, or is the one who needs the help the one that's weak? What the stuff we're thinking don't even make sense. We're not thinking. Again, we said Christianity and religion tells us what to think, but it does not teach us how to think. In fact, it dissuades us from thinking at all. Even though God has designed the brain to function in this world as him. And so if this is Ezer or Ezer, and this is what we call God as our helper, how then does that become subjugated, or I'm just here to help? Well, you know, I'm nothing, but I'm just here to help. Well, if you need help, then you're the one that's weak. So now let's not play word games here, because the person helping is always the one with the power. Just like when God helps us, it is because of our frailty, our needs. God helps us because he's the one with the power. So now how did such a word get massaged and transliterated and imposed upon, to the extent now that we think, even from other scriptures written from this Genesis account, that the woman is here for the pleasure or the success of the man. We can say this dumb junk: behind every successful man is a good woman. Something is wrong with that, because if he is really successful, a successful man pours into the woman and then expects. Look at our anatomy. Okay, how in the world? Now listen to, and then we're going to get into this, but we're going to get into it tonight. But I'm going to go there just a little bit. You know, when we talk about even the sexual act, we talk about, I'm going to get me some. She going to give me some. Girl, you better go ahead and give him some. Well, I'm going to get that. No. Even anatomically, we cannot give you nothing, because anatomically, we are built to receive seed. That's what a womb is for. So if we are built anatomically as the receiver, then we can't give you nothing until we first receive from you. We receive seed. We produce nations. Come on here. we receive. And so it ain't no behind no every good successful man there's a good woman, because a good man knows that unless he pours into first, he don't even have the right to demand a harvest. So this whole thing is screwed up all the way from the way we jacked up the interpretation of Genesis so that we could continue to subjugate women. That's all I got to say about that. That helped me. We need to go back and look at that right there. Okay. Look at that right there, because they were made the same thing. And it is interesting how easily, as they have constructed some of the Genesis account from other traditions that are much older, thousands of years older, that how they have done this, how easy it was for, watch, Adam, and Adam simply means human. It don't mean him. It means human, as you said, dark, ruddy, colorful. It is the humankind, a walking, talking human spirit. That's why we know that Jesus couldn't have been without no color, because he's the last Adam. Come on here. But anyhow, let me go back to my story. Even as we look at this whole narrative, isn't it interesting how easily Adam does not possess the skill, the honesty, number one. Look at how the man has been presented, but we've missed it because we've been so busy looking at the woman. Look at the man and the woman who now don't show up to speak to God. They usually show up in the cool of the day every evening, and the evening and the morning were the first day. They show up every evening now to have conversation with God, to get their marching orders and to review how well they've acted like God all day in the earth. Now, all of a sudden, they so coward, they can't face God. He's so coward, he can't face God. And listen, look how the text presents him. When he finally is summoned by God, they done made fig leaves and all this stuff and made, they self covering and covered they self up.
Cosmetics. Cosmetics.
Yes, sir. Cosmetics. Okay. And that, talk about $1 trillion industry. Cosmetics. I got a little on my face now. Cosmetics is to cover. Okay. Because we're not even comfortable with looking like we came here. And that burden is put on who? Mostly the women. Now the metrosexual men are now doing cosmetics. But anyway, this whole idea, if we really look at how Adam is presented in the text, he is the one who is weak, and he is the one who finds it very easily to worm his way out of something by blaming God for giving him something inferior. So now what do that make him?
All righty then. Dr. Brown, any comment?
You see that dynamic?
Oh, yeah, I see it.
He blamed her. She blamed the serpent. She never blames him.
Dr. Brown, anything you want to add? I know we don't see your picture, but your video, but anyway, anything you want to add?
Yeah, we need to see your face. Come on back to the stream. The stream.
The way these computers operate, I've been trying to, and then I do come, and then I go, and then I return. It is interesting, but in regard to Dr. Hyman's narrative, I'm in kind of an agreement of her analysis, not her criticisms, because I don't deal with criticisms. I deal with analysis, and that's just me saying this because see.
Wow.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
What Dr. Hyman presents.
Okay, you got a real echo there. Let me
Yeah, you got to mute something. Because I'm on my telephone.
You're on your telephone. All right. Well, you stay on your telephone. And let me see if I can remove you off of the video portion. Let's see if that will help.
Okay. Now, here's where I am.
I just want to see It's dope.
Okay, see, Dr. Hyman has made a strong point to my consciousness of my own disciplines in world religions. And she has kind of proven to me in my thinking that you're dealing with a dualism. And the reality of all of this is the fact of the oneness. Male, female is a oneness when you look at it from the realm of divinity, or let's say the divine. And it's, do you hear me?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And see, the oneness, everything you are saying, Dr. Hyman, as you analyze, is the fact dividing. You know, we call this the United States of America. That's the biggest lie in the world. We are the divided states of America. And if you study, or if you always recognize, you cannot conquer unless you divide. So, and I'm using terms in the social perspective, in the theological perspective and the scriptures, your presentation is very clear because you're dealing with linguistics and the different symbols that create division. Now let's look at symbols that create our oneness. Oneness. And when I look at back in my Greek, as we say, Greek Old Roman, before there was that element that the women were the goddess. And then you go into Africa and you look at that experience, the language was a language of the goddess, the feminine energy that brought us all here in oneness, not in division and competition. What I hear Dr. Hyman explaining is the competitive economic issue that takes place in our psychics. I cannot cooperate because I've got something outside of me. When you look at cooperating, I operate from the fact that you and I are one. And when you and I are one, we do say it they do try to say it in the marriage ceremonies, where the two of you are together, you become one. Now, if you become one, what is that oneness? That oneness is love. But if you divide it, it's based on fear. So it comes back to my little titty bit about fear to love, fear to be one, and love to be divided.
Fear to be one, and love to be divided.
Yeah, that's part of my whole thesis.
That's heavy. That's heavy. Because when you look at it in terms of intimacy, you know, our fear of intimacy, our fear to trust, our fear to unite, our fear to collaborate and share, put all of our stuff on the table. Because if we put all of our stuff on the table, we are richer together than we are apart. We are afraid of all of that. Anything that deals with oneness at all, we absolutely fear it. I don't know if that is part of the Western ethos or the Western worldview or thought of philosophy, that everything is opposites and everything is polar and everything is dichotomous. Maybe it comes through there, but we do have this, I see it, Dr. Brown, we do have this visceral fear of oneness, like we're going to lose ourselves if we come together. And so there's a fear of intimacy, there's a fear of exchange, there's a fear of certain levels of sacrifice and trust. Oh my God, that's very heavy. That's gonna make me have some different kinds of thought, even in terms of the psychology of relationship.
Well, Dr. Hyman, that's what you were presenting. As you narrated, as I use the term, your narrative, your analytical narrative just happened to reveal more to me of what I already have as my presuppositions of what the dilemma is, not just in Christianity, but what the dilemma is in regard to the systemic operations of religions.
Yes.
I mean, that's unfortunately, that's where I am.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, wow. Man, I can't get beyond that. We fear oneness and we love division.
Absolutely. Division is a form of self-preservation, and it is a form of control.
Add one more statement to your psychology, and you can help me with that, Dr. Hyman. It is the evil of the ego.
Absolutely.
The evil of the ego, you know, it is the basis by which competition and capitalism is fueled.
Come on, sir.
It's fueled by fear.
There you go.
And it's fueled by division. Divide and conquer. You know, win, loss, profit, loss, winners, losers. That whole construct.
See all those that see all that dichotomy.
That kind of
really Western. That is Eurocentric thought. It is Eurocentric philosophy.
It's Eurocentric. And it comes from a premise that somebody believed that they were better than the next person. Somebody believed that they were better than the other gender. Somebody believed that their nation was better than the other nations, you know? And so when you are navigating and matriculating to societies that have this belief, and this society creates its own laws and its own constitution, it's a constitution of injustice.
Absolutely.
It's a constitution of one above the other, like the term one-upmanship, like somebody's got a one-up, you know, and trying to get up on top of the next person rather than trying to coalesce. We contradict and we want to divide. And so make the other person feel bad, look bad, so that makes us look good. And so, you know, and so all of this is empire, you know, lived out. It is a philosophical construct and manifestation of empire. When I talk about empire, yes, I'm mirroring the whole Roman system that we've adopted. You know, the haves and the have-nots.
Well, you say, Dr. Gardner, you say we adopted. Why don't you just say we embrace?
Well, that's even stronger. We embrace it. You know what? We love it.
We love the fear.
We love it. We love the fear. I mean, you know, and because we embrace it, Dr. Brown, it's because we have not seen an alternative that we can hope for. So we embrace what we've already been exposed to environmentally, you know, culturally, through assimilation, and the whole 9 yards. We embrace because we have not been given a good alternative that offers us hope.
Dr. Gardner, how would I, what, you know, you've heard it. I feel where you are. Y'all know what I mean. I feel your passion. And I didn't say compassion. I feel your passion because of that. That is a reality that, and Hyman and both of you come at me with this, because that's what our religious behavior has been doing to us in our various ways of the worship experiences that we've had. And this is hard to digest, but I think about my ancestors who were brought across the waters, had to make certain kind of adaptations to survive inside the flesh.
Well,
But at the same time, what they were doing was just merely being successful in hiding what they really knew about their beingness. And I go on to say that we have been so busy in our development within this culture, we have been busy in regard to trying to be accepted by the oppressor, and have not realized we have already been accepted by our divine creator as one.
okay. All right.
And in much of our religious expression, and it's not a bad thing, it's kind of, I would say, in the psychology, doesn't our worship, Dr. Hyman, serve to be more therapeutic than liberating?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And it's designed on the one hand to be therapeutic, but our worship really is, at least in a biblical context, our worship is really our work. It's really our work. When we are doing what we are designed to do, we are functioning the way we were created to function. That is, and we're functioning, we're giving it, we're doing it, we're sacrificing it. That is the ultimate act of worship. And so, when you're being and you're doing, there is something therapeutic about it, but it also should be liberating. It should also be liberating. It should be freeing. It should be exhilarating. It should be all of that. But because of the posture that we have been taught to take, it's more of us getting our rocks off than anything else. It's not about.
And I hear you. I want to say another word, but I won't say it in respect. It's like an orgasm.
That's all I'm saying. And that becomes the ultimate goal, is release. Rather than being at one-ment, atonement, at one-ment.
There you go. That's the word. What you just hit it.
One another.
At oneness.
Yes.
Not at two or three, but at oneness with one another under our divine creator.
Absolutely. Isn't it interesting that one of Jesus's last prayers, as he is about to encounter the injustice of this Greco-Roman penal system, that he begins to pray that God would make those that are of that movement one.
That's true.
Make them one as you and I are one. And most of us never attain oneness with the Creator, because you can't do it without being one with His creation. You can't. They're inextricably, they're inseparable. And so this fear of oneness, that's real heavy, Dr. Brown, because it is interesting that, Jesus don't say save them from the system. Lord, let the movement keep going. He don't pray none of that stuff. He don't pray nothing about no money, no take care of them, none of the stuff that you may be thinking about when you are looking at the possibility of leaving here. But his prayer is, they with me, but they still ain't one. They preaching what I'm preaching, and they doing what I'm doing. But that Roman system of competition, that Greek stuff, that competition and performance, and who's going to be in charge, and who's going to take this, and that was still in them. And his prayer is that they would become one, just as he and his Father were one. So we need to now return to this idea of oneness that is both vertical and horizontal. It is the same thing. You cannot be one with the Creator and not be one with the creation. You cannot be one with the creation and not come into oneness with the creator. And so that's something that is almost foreign to Americans. It is foreign to Europeans. It is foreign to African Americans now. That's foreign. The concept of we-ness, which is very African, is foreign to us because we're no longer African Americans. We're Americans. That's it.
Can you, Dr. Gardner and Dr. Hyman, can you in brief give me what I would call, what is really forgiveness? Because I often reflect as I'm working through analyzing the fear of love and the love of fear, I constantly run up on that big F word. I use the F word. Y'all can imagine why I would say it in some groups. But the F word of forgiveness. How do you explain what forgiveness is?
Well, I mean, forgiveness is really an act of love. You know, it is, you know, you can't be a loving person and not be a forgiving person. Now, that didn't say that you wouldn't be a fool either. But, you know, I think that the expression of forgiveness comes from a place of love. Now, I'm saying all that to say this because I'm going back to this, you know, to this oneness piece. And going back to what Dr. Hyman said. And she said that Jesus prayed, and this is John 17, which he was alluding toward.
Right. John 17 is a book that I started reading. I keep reading it over and over.
Okay. And so, and it's a very Christological book. If those who understand Christology, John's gospel is a Christological assessment amongst the four. He prayed that they may be one as we are. That oneness can be described as a hypostatic union, you know, and I'm not going to go into that. Y'all can look that word up. But the point is, he prayed the solution. He didn't pray about, let Rome burn, let the earth open up and swallow them up. He didn't pray. He prayed what they needed in order to, and not only to succeed, but to have succession. That in order for this message that I've introduced to you of liberation, this message that I have inaugurated in Luke 4:18, in order for it to have succession, you need to have the solution. And the solution is that you might be one, that you might understand what God had in his mind in the beginning, that Adam messed up. When he created this rift in the rift, as it were, a breach, as it were, by what? By despising divine feminine energy. And therefore it created an opportunity for others. It was the spirit of the Antichrist. I'll leave that alone. But anyway, it was not the way.
It is Sunday.
It was not the way that God had intended in the beginning. And so we've gone down this path of division, loving it, and we've gone down this path of fearing oneness because we're afraid of it. Maybe because the best expression of oneness that we have feared and we have despised is the feminine. And I'm just saying, and maybe to have this kind of oneness where both aspects of humanity walk under the divine law and influence is what the kingdom of God is really all about. It's what the world is looking for today. It's really the answer to the people who are oppressed. I can get sticks and staves and guns and stuff like that and defend my turf and shoot and so forth, but you cannot control a spirit. And this movement of oneness is spiritual. It is deep. And so that's the solution. And you can't control a spiritual movement. You can transcend spasm. You can do all these other kind of things that we've seen happen in movements that were flesh and blood. But if Christ gave the answer, if y'all can just become one, if y'all can rediscover, divine energy flowing between the yin and the yang, or this infinity between the male and the female, then you will understand what I had in mind in the beginning. And that is what's going to be the answer. And that's what's going to be the redemption. It's from that place, Dr. Brown, that from that love place, that's the only place we can understand forgiveness. Because we can go to the Greco-Roman world and we can look up the word, of forgiveness, and we can go through all the English books we have on forgiveness, and all of them are going to fall short to the divine meaning of forgiveness that can only be born and birthed out of oneness. It comes by, some things are taught, other things are called. Forgiveness is one of those things that you have to catch, but you're going to catch it from a dimension of a common unity. Anyway.
Dr. Hyman,
All right.
what's your?
That's good, right? Yeah, I could go into that a little bit, but that's good. That's good. I mean, even when you think in terms of forgiving is really for the good of the whole. Mm-hmm. It's for the good of the whole. Mm-hmm. I'm going to forgive you so that you can find redemption, because the whole thing needs you, or you have breached relationship. You have breached covenant, and any breach between us is a breach for the whole community. So,
Dr. Hyman, can I just hold you there for a split 4 seconds, because I'm pushing you to regard to the fact of being forgiving that I have seen, and I think you would agree that how do we speak to those who haven't forgiven themselves?
Okay, I need to let me finish that, and I'll try to append that.
Okay, go ahead, sis. I'm sorry.
I'm flowing not from intellectual knowledge. I'm just piggybacking off what he said here. But this whole idea of community, this whole idea of forgiveness is to bring wholeness back to something. It's not for somebody to get off and keep doing the same thing. It is to bring wholeness and redemption to the whole thing. If we look at it psychologically, the way that my field sees forgiveness as it is a conscious, deliberate decision to release not just the person, but to release those feelings of offense, feelings of injustice, feelings of resentment, and the need to take vengeance toward a person or a group that has harmed you or somebody you love, regardless of whether they actually deserve your forgiveness or not. So forgiveness does not mean forgetting. Forgiveness does not mean condoning. Forgiveness does not mean excusing. It means that I'm going to release my right to take vengeance, or I'm going to release the resentment that is unhealthy for me because of something that you did. And so when we understand that it is a conscious decision to release what you're feeling, what you're experiencing, then we can say to people who have not forgiven themselves the same thing. You owe it to the community to become functional again. You owe it to the community to get up and try it again. You owe it to the whole of humanity, everything that's connected to you, to get yourself together, get your life together. Release those negative, toxic feelings of resentment that you have for yourself, self-hatred, Black people, that you have for yourself, all of this resentment that you have been trained to have because you are not in the image of the God of your oppressors. And so when we look at it as a release here, so that we are functional, this doesn't excuse. And that's how we have been bamboozled to let all of these white folks and Black folks and whoever they are off the hook, to excuse them or to make excuses for them, to the extent that our forgiveness based on our Christianity is pathological. It won't even allow us to feel resentment. It won't even allow us to feel anger and rage. It won't even allow us to feel, it won't allow us to feel nothing, because we use forgiveness as an analgesic and a denial of the pain or the trauma of the offense. So if we see it psychologically as a conscious decision to release all of those well-earned feelings, and that it brings us back to a place of functionality for the good of the whole, then that puts a little different spin on it. It's not excusing, it's not condoning, and it's not saying let these people off the hook so they can do the same thing again. That's not that.
Wow. This kind of forgiveness is more than just individual, because it has this kind of forgiveness. You said something, not letting them off the hook.
Yeah, that don't mean that.
It don't mean letting them off the hook, but it's this kind of forgiveness has a communal aspect to where, okay, and this is the role of the priest who stand between, and there's a communal aspect toward, number one, to those who have been maligned and harmed, and get them to a place that they can begin to move toward oneness, yet at the same time have a clarion call and a prophetic voice to the injustice. Because if we don't be prophetic about the injustice, it will continue to happen to just us.
My Lord.
So we've got to have, we can have forgiveness. We can forgive the petty. We can forgive this. We can come together and realize, hey, we've been wronged, but then I need to also release myself from the effect of my wrongness and get off of this case of the man did it or somebody did it. We can get off of this. We get to the point to where, okay, we become responsible forgivers.
Absolutely.
I'm thinking about
and
my
we become resilient again.
Huh?
We become resilient again. We become functional again. For the good of the whole. Forgiveness is when there's been a breach. The forgiveness now is to begin to heal the breach so that we can become one, or so we can separate.
So that we can become one. And you said the good of the whole. When we think about the good of the whole, it's not just about the people that I see in my generation. If I was to borrow some of the insight that we've seen in the Hebrew scripture, they talked about up to the third and fourth generation.
That's right.
My grandkids, you talking about my great-grandkids, and we talk about my great-great-great-grandkids should feel the effect of my responsibility of my what? My quest for oneness, my need to forgive how we've been wronged and forgive ourselves, and then at the same time be a prophetic voice that speaks to the injustice so that it doesn't happen again.
Absolutely. It's just like us getting in trouble as children.
So it doesn't happen again.
That's right. It's just like us getting in trouble as children. Now, I don't know about y'all, mama, but I got a real Black mama. All right. And my mama beat that hind parts.
Well,
so that you won't continue to breach and embarrass the family, and you won't continue to engage in behaviors that harm you and harm others. All right? I'm going to beat your tail and forgive you. Beat your tail and go on upstairs or go on and play. So it does not mean, forgiveness does not mean that there is no consequence. Because then if forgiveness was the seed of escape, then there could never be justice, because God is a forgiving God. So our whole concept of forgiveness, of letting off the hook, forget it, act like it never happened. God don't act like that. You say, oh, God throws our sins in the sea of forgetfulness. And we still gonna beat that hind part. We still gonna have a consequence.
Now watch that. God throws our sins in the sea of forgetfulness, and we had a Black maternal, hopefully, if that's what you had as a mother, you know, I'm just trying to be, you know, universal here. If you had that type of mama, it ain't going in the, it's going to go in the sea of forgetfulness after it, and it will not bypass your amazing grace. You're going to get dealt to. You're going to experience something that's going to remind you responsibly as to this breach that you caused. She was very prophetic and profound in applying the right kind of salve that caused the kind of solution. I gotta hurt you to help you. That's exactly what that was all about. And so, you know, and this is what we're dealing with here. This is what we're dealing with. And so when we begin to look at this thing through the lens of forgiveness and understanding responsible forgivers or responsible forgiveness, that means we all have got to march together to bring about this common unity, because the goal of this spirit of Antichrist is to continue to perpetuate the fear of oneness and to continue to create enterprises that keep people apart, and they make money off of keeping people apart. Yet the answer for the world today is not in competition. It's not in capitalism. It's not in any of these world systems. It's in oneness, which is couched, born, bred in this common unity, this spiritual dimension. Anyway, that's getting deep, but we're going to get into some of these things.
Let me add something to what you said.
Please do, please
about this enterprising and all of this. Women form the majority of those living in poverty around the world. They have fewer resources, less power, less influence compared to men, and can experience further inequality because of their class, ethnicity, age, as well as religious or other fundamentalism. So in addition to being woman, you're Black, you're low class, you ain't got no money, all of that. Now, gender inequality is a key driver of poverty and a fundamental denial of women's rights. Let's look at a few numbers. Women make up less than 24% of the world's parliamentarians and 5% of its mayors. On average, women are paid 24% less than men for comparable work across all regions, all sectors. Nearly 2/3 of the world's 781 million illiterate adults are women. 2/3, a proportion that has remained unchanged for at least 2 decades. 153 countries have laws which discriminate against women economically, including 18 countries where husbands can legally prevent their wives from working. Worldwide, 1 in 3 women and girls will experience violence or abuse in their lifetime. 1 out of 3, for every 3 females, 1 of us has experienced sexual abuse, violence, and all of that. And so this is gender justice as the full equality of equity between women and men in all spheres of life, resulting in women jointly and on an equal basis with men defining and shaping policies, structures, and decision that will affect their lives and the society as a whole. So sexism is an enterprise, keeping women in poverty. These statistics are appalling and they're all over the globe. So the same system that keep men in power, or white men in power, or white people in power, it's the same system that keeps women in poverty. And so it is all about power. It is all about prestige, position, and economics. And at the bottom of all of it is those that carry life, bring it to term, birth it, nurture it, and bring it into health. Is something dreadfully wrong with this, and it is going to take a movement, Apostle, a movement, Dr. Brown, just as it took the civil rights movement, and we call it the Me Too movement. All the Me Too movement say is it happened to me too. And so now we're becoming aware. Many of us are not aware that women all over the globe are in this position. And we're not aware how much the economy thrives off of it and how much the male ego is fueled by it.
Well, the proof of that, I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that sex trafficking is about the enterprising of the female body globally.
Absolutely.
It ain't about, I mean, you know, it's not about selling boys. Come on. It's about selling girls, selling women, and putting them into these type of enterprises so that who profits from that? Somebody in a position, usually a male, that's in some sort of position of authority that reaps the benefit, that sells to other men.
A system, that's a system.
It's a system that sells to other men pleasure, and I get paid to sell you pleasure. And so, I mean, you know, and when they're no longer useful, again, that despisement goes a step further. You throw them away. Anyway, we can keep going in.
I only asked one question, forgiveness, and you all cover the thesis.
Hey,
Well, you asked a question, although I'm not, you know, I'm not quite sure where, because we kind of had to weave it back into the topic of this genderism. But, you know, the question was extremely loaded. It was very general. So we had to, you know how you drop them bombs and then you go sit in the corner and be laughing at us.
man,
No,
They
Dr.
know to do
Hyman.
it. Somebody told me tonight, they watch our show and they told me, say, Dr. Brown be edging you on Dr. Brown. Yes, sir. They say Dr. Brown be bringing it and he dropped it. And you know, see, come on now. So it was a very loaded question, and it was without context. So we had to put it in a context. But I know you was going somewhere with it. Dr. Brown. I know you was going somewhere with it.
Yeah, but you know, both of you all explain and you are very correct. I didn't give you a context, and you all placed it in a context. And when you did place it, it brought a 3-word term that you all will deal with it: cause and effect.
Yeah.
Come
on.
All right.
Cause and effect. And Dr. Gordon and Hyman, you all realize what I'm saying. Cause and effect. Old folk how would they say it in the old days? You reap what you sow.
Yeah,
that's what they say.
And the dynamic is, I have an old statement, and you all will laugh at it. My statement is, I have a thought, and I can control that thought. But once I speak it, I become a slave to it.
Oh, my.
Oh man, you hurt me.
Yeah, see, he keep dropping them bombs.
Hey, Dr. Hyman, as I tell people that I have to learn how to love, I'm going to do something that the devil won't do for you. And I think Gardner knows that. I'll leave you alone.
Leave me alone. Look, audience, you guys are watching The Doctors Are In. I trust that you've enjoyed this dialogue, trialogue. We're going in, and this is just the beginning. We'll be back here next week to kind of delve a little bit further. We've got a platform, we got a springboard of oneness, we've got forgiveness, we got fear, we got all of these things there that are part of the solution, and some of them is exposing the problem. And so we're going to do our best. Pray for us as we see you guys next time here on The Doctors Are In. God bless.